Yeah.
Too early for
some
crypto
energy.
people, you know?
Yeah, how many coffees exactly? 2 coffees? Okay, cool. Let's get a quick round of intros. We want to start with Avail. I don't want to like spike up. You are the only one with the mic, without the mic. There you are.
Hey, I'm Prabal. I'm one of the co-founders of Avail. At Avail, we are trying to build the application development stack for the modular ecosystem through best-in-class scalability with Avail DA, with interoperability with Avail Nexus, and shared asset, shared security with Avail Fusion.
Awesome. My name is Martin. I'm from Zircuit. Zircuit is an L2. We are a zero-knowledge rollup. So, on this panel, we represent, let's say, developers who use modularity solutions.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sota Watanabe, co-founder of Soneium. We launched a brand 2 months ago. Soneium is a chain developed by Sony Group and Astar DevRel.
Hey guys, Kilian, Chief Commercial Officer for Swell Protocol. You probably know us from the restaking run-up that happened this past year. But what we're working on now is bringing restaking yield natively to the OP superchain as the restaking yield layer.
Sounds good. I'm Francesco. I'm leading DevRel at Consensus, and as you guys know, we have like different products like Linea, MetaMask, and much more. And yeah, excited to actually bring everything around modularity. But actually, let's start with a big context. What is the state of modularity today?
Yeah.
No, I think the state of modularity is that Hey. Yeah, so the state of modularity right now, as I like to see, is there's a lot of promise and a lot of promises have already been delivered, right? So we have seen huge amounts of user activity and utility that is being delivered by modular app chains and general purpose chains today. And all of that is showing out like what it can bring to the table also. So there's a lot of anticipation with all the products that these guys are building and beyond. And not only that, it has opened up a big playing area for new developers to try things on, to experiment, to see what kind of new applications and new age design choices and security trade-offs that they can take, which was probably previously not possible in monolithic environments, right? So I think that's the current state of modularity, if you ask me.
I would agree with that. I think that the modularity situation in the Web3 space is actually pretty good. When you think about the general stack that rollups or L1s or any kind of blockchain uses, with every single service, you can probably actually think about a Web3 project that is currently focusing specifically on that service as a module, right? So I think that we are actually in a pretty good shape. I think that one thing that the space should be aware of is there is also, a way of over-modularizing systems and over-engineering, right? So you cannot go, granular too much. I think that where we currently are is probably very close to that optimal state.
Yeah, Soneium is the Ethereum layer 2 powered by OP Stack, and we're gonna join the superchain. So in this sense, when it comes to modularity, our chain Soneium is not too modular. But for us, our strength is the distribution channel and the potential customers who can be onboarded from Web 2 space. So we're gonna really focus on the customer experience and also distribution channel. And together with other superchain builders such as Base, Kraken, Inc., Unichain, and others. Yeah.
Yeah, I think for us, it's accelerated development in general, right? It's made it easier for teams that were building dApps on Ethereum to look at launching L2 and sort of scaling vertically like that. So I think all in all, it's in a good space.
Yeah, you touched a little bit on over-engineering. When do you say oh, this is too much? What you will tell you okay, this is too much both for user and developers? Because I mean, modular ecosystem are definitely impacting developer workflow as a builder, right? And for users, obviously they're enhancing the usability, right? But I agree with you. When is this too much in terms of okay, what are kind of the signs that you will tell this is over-engineering?
That's a really hard question. I want to say gut feeling and intuition, right? Once you're looking at a system that should be simple and you find 17 services in there that are somehow integrated, that that is fishy, right? It smells. So I think that intuition is a very good sort of like a first element that you can use. The second one is various performance analysis and benchmarking, right? Because when you are building modular systems, they actually do have one disadvantage against the monolithic systems. There can be some overhead. When you have these services, when you have these products that are sort of communicating with each other, that can actually introduce that communication overhead. So when you notice that your system is not performing well, like over-engineering might actually be one of the things. Another kind of indicator is your inability to maintain the system efficiently, right? Because again, when you break things apart way too much, it suddenly becomes clunky, clumsy, and hard to develop around. So when you find yourself like thinking about a simple problem or simple task and banging your head against the wall for days because it's becoming too hard, that might also be a sign that something is architected poorly.
I mean, I would like to add that he put it very well, but sometimes it's also about overfits and not over-engineering. Like sometimes we are so baked into the narrative of today that we try to overfit our product inside an architecture or a particular infrastructure type. And that is when we make security trade-offs which we don't understand. We make performance trade-offs which we do not know, especially in the non-optimistic path, in the sense that, not about optimistic roll-ups and ZK roll-ups, but there is every design has an optimistic path and happy path and a non-happy path. It's when the non-happy path hits that we want to build the systems for. These are resilient systems that scale the services of billions of people, right? Not the happy path. The happy path is always very efficient. It works just like a charm. You can move at the speed of light, no worries. But it's only when these things are not connected, something breaks, something just shuts down or goes off, when you should not build a house of cards that you break something and it all falls apart.
I have a lot of questions, but I want to follow the flow. So let's speak about the non-happy part. So what are the trade-offs that you are seeing? Like monolithics. I mean, I was in a panel yesterday on ZK, ZK VM, ZK EVM, like coprocessor with T and stuff. Like everybody has this own kind of trade-offs. Like my answer is always depending on the specific use case that you want to build and what you want to optimize for. But what are the trade-offs that you see right now on different kind of tech stack? You don't need to mention or shield any tech stack specific. I just want to understand what are the trade-offs today that both developers should take in consideration when they're building and going kind of this way.
I mean, of course, these guys are building top of the line developer experiences for their own ecosystems, and they will be able to say you much more. But if you ask me, one of the things is, let's say I use a centralized sequencer. That's not a problem. My use case might need that. If I build it well enough, it's not a problem because it cannot do arbitrary stuff. It can only do sequencing, which is meant to do. It cannot do state assertion and such. Or it can actually do everything altogether. It can look like a single node system with no fallbacks. If the sequencer just today tries arbitrary stuff, it becomes Byzantine. It's not a Byzantine fault-tolerant system. If it crashes, it's not a crash fault-tolerant system. And those are not the types of system that we want to build. Again, depending on how many pieces have you integrated into the stack, if something goes down, for example, in a ZK, one of the things why ZK works is that what kind of provers don't need only need to have liveness guarantees, right? They don't need to have safety guarantees because the soundness of the ZK proofs takes care of that. Now, what happens if that's why there are fallbacks that are coming. What if there is a bug in the soundness guarantee that the ZK proof gives you? Then you need to have multiple of these. Is it efficient enough? Can you prove everything that you would want to? I was having this interesting discussion yesterday with the SP1 guys that what is your quantum of computation? How far can you parallelize these computations so as to make this very, very effective? But during this chunking process, there can be also security trade-offs that you take because you do not do the execution correctly, or the executor actually misses parts of the traces and such.
So Modularity in some way is beautiful. The benefit of modularity is that you can develop your module, your product, your service, and focus on that one particular aspect that it is responsible for, right? This is the principle that honestly already Linux and Unix came out with, right? And it's been working really, really well. So that's like the good thing about modularity. But the possible trade-off, which you just mentioned, is availability, robustness, and accessibility of the system, right? We have this like beautiful ceiling in here. There are probably 1,000 light bulbs in there, If a light bulb goes out once a year, if you have 1,000 light bulbs, you will be changing 3 of them every week on average, right? And with systems, it works similarly. Every single system, every single module, it has some level of availability, 3 nines, 5 nines, something like that, right? Well, if you combine many and many of them, these, coefficients, they actually multiply. So your uptime actually might go down. And in our particular world, that's a big problem, right? We build decentralized systems because we actually do want them to be always up. So trade-offs definitely exist, but I want to give space to the other speakers as well.
Yeah, if I can say whatever I want to say. So basically, I think my thesis is I think technology is getting mature and mature. If I say Ethereum back in 2021 or 2020, one transaction takes $50 when I swap on Uniswap. I did. And then right now, today, if I use Ethereum layer 2, it's less than 1 cent. So when it comes to scalability and let's say robustness or maybe availability, a lot of the problem has been already solved in a good way. But in terms of the adoption, we don't see thousands times more adoption in past 5 years. So I think we are fundamentally missing a distribution channel and onboarding existing users on chain. So we needed to develop tech based on the customer's requirement rather than making something I mean crypto developers want. So this is what we would like to do. And right now we have successfully onboarded finance people. So yeah, robustness matters, availability matters a lot. And then as a next step, it's time to onboard the entertainment people. In finance, that's great, but very limited people, only 3% of the human being using blockchain. And how to onboard the next billion? For us, our value proposition is going to be entertainment, specifically music, movie, gaming. By providing a Web3 and by penetrating the Web3 technology in daily lives, I would like to make the experience, I would like to make the wall where people are using Web3 without noticing Web3. So in this sense, technically speaking, we are focusing on customer experience tech, such as account abstraction, chain abstraction, and so on.
Yeah, I think for us, we can take the restaking angle. So what we are working on the L2 is we focused on just providing high yield to the users, right? And expanding on restaking as a category. So for example, what we do is through our LRTs, we provide economic security for AVSs, right? What we then do is we work with those AVSs. You can think of them as modular components. We plug them into the L2. They provide services to the dApps, and they are secured by the underlying assets that the users are holding and holding on the chain. So as liquidity on the chain grows, the dApps generate more revenue. The AVSs that plug into those dApps generate revenue, and that gets paid as yield back to the restakers. So I think that's how we are looking at it. And I think, like Sota said, at some point, you'll have these different modular components that sort of rise to the top, and everyone will use them. And then the focus is really on how can you create the best user experience.
Yeah, I agree. I also want to say that at the end, everybody wants usability. That's why we're building tech stack. On chain abstraction, account abstraction. But I think also at one side of the medal is also we need to also care about how we onboard more developers and builders in the space. And I think also sometimes modularity doesn't help to have a seamless ecosystem accessibility, Because when I'm writing, I don't know, Cairo, I'm stick to an ecosystem specifically. When I'm writing on Rust, like I have a specific ecosystem. And also like it's an interesting like point where we're saying about, I want to get accessibility in new kind of type of industry. But in the same time, we also need to care about having like an interoperability layer around developer adoption. I don't know, do you think that tooling around developers are enough today? Like, or are enough interoperable around the ecosystem? Or you think like we should have more siloed modular ecosystem? How many developers do we have in the room? Just to try to understand like the type of answers. Okay, cool.
No, I don't think we have enough tools. Like if we are saying ourselves that we have enough developer tools and that developers are having a nice time, we are either in our ivory tower or we have not developed in a long time. So there are not enough developer tools today. The fact is that people are building for it. As you mentioned, like we are trying, all of us are hopefully trying to make the developer experience as seamless as possible so that the users also have a better experience. Only when the developers can have access to tools so that they can build nice products is only when you can expect a user to have a nice experience without trade-off. With trade-offs, yes, you can always build a centralized system as Web 2 and then plug in some blockchain transactions and call it Web 3, right? So in terms of like interoperability and creating seamless ecosystems, that is where one of our efforts are going a lot right now is how do we connect those pieces? How do we defragment this world? We want to be able to take independent choices. I think I was discussing with someone and from one of the leading L2s, and they were saying that they were building for these developers so that they can make independent choices. I want to make sure that my user is able to pay in fiat. My user gets a 250 millisecond soft confirmation. My user wants to, have some kind of a user experience which is already account abstracted through a pre-compile which has not been implemented. Those kind of independent choices the user should be able to make and the developer should be able to make. But at the same time, they should have access to other ecosystems and be able to connect to them. Otherwise, we are making, again, siloed systems which, as he mentioned, Sota mentioned, like we have a very small pool of users. And if we just keep fighting among ourselves so that the user just forces a transaction on my chain versus his chain, it's a zero-sum game there.
Yeah, I would say this is the fifth wave of the crypto, starting from Ethereum, Solana, Avalanche, Aptos, Nomado, Monad, and others. And the crypto people, aggressively speaking, I think crypto people is circulating crypto inside of the crypto one chain to another, right? So how to terminate crypto wars and how to decrease silo? The way we would like to do is onboard Web 2 people who is not going to switch from one chain to another. Eventually, we needed to provide experience, seamless experience. And users do not need to care about blockchain, just like internet of today. But when we say internet, when I use Wi-Fi, feels like free. But this hotel is paying the Wi-Fi fee. So we can subsidize the gas fee and let the user use blockchain for free. And we would like to focus on these kind of experience. And by onboarding Web 2 people and the people who don't care about blockchain, we needed to make a network effect beyond Web 3 to potentially onboard billion of the people on chain.
Yeah, I mean, look at Poly Market. Like the majority of logins were SSO logins, right? No one was touching, and I think people started to discover that was deployed on Polygon. Like I don't know, like 1 week even before. Like it's crazy. Like the use case is definitely like making the specific like application. But anyway, I think we have 1 minute. What are you guys are looking forward? Like what do you want to see in the next like 6 months?
I would like to see more and more users, as many of them mentioned. That's, of course, what I would love to see. But I would also love to see better developer experiences, like less silos between ecosystems. I should be able to talk to any other chain, even if I'm making a specific choice of an L2 stack, of a DA provider, of some sequencer, some Oracle network, some wallet provider. I should be having access to many, many different types of ecosystems, even if I choose my security trade-off based on my user demands.
If I put my developer hat on, I want to see better documentation and more tooling available for testing. When we talk modularity, we essentially talk integration, right? We have a whole bunch of services that have to talk to each other. If I cannot mock this service, if I don't have some kind of testnet or some devnet type environment available, it's really, really hard to develop around.
I think open source frameworks too, right? Because a lot of like layer one testing is all closed source, and I would like to see like open source like testing
Agreed.
frameworks for like TPS, testing framework, speed and latency on the prover side. Yes, please. Sorry about it.
Yeah, to make it short, I think this ecosystem has been developer-centric, which is good. I love it. But right now, it's time to be user-centric, to onboard general people. Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, it's seeing apps built, for example, for us on the superchain, but drawing from specific strengths of every chain. So from a user perspective, maybe it's getting restaking yield from Swell, the users coming in through Base, but they don't actually know which chain they're drawing from beneath that. So I think, like you said, we're not trying to keep a user for our own chain. It's let's see applications built on top, and then see that application draw from the strengths of what that chain provides.
Yeah, sorry. And I have a swag, and we have a swag over there. So if you'd like to get this, let me know.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Awesome. Do you have any questions? Or we're good to go? Okay, cool. Looks like an early morning for everyone. Okay, cool. Thanks so much. Big round of applause. Thanks for your time. Thanks for listening.